Hello, everyone. It looks like we're live. Nice to see all of you here already. Today's title for the live stream is Soaring Budget Deficit and De-Dollarization Could Drive Bond Yields to Shocking Levels. Excuse me. Uh, yeah, we'll look at that. For those of you who are watching recorded, maybe move 10 minutes forward as I use the first 10 minutes just to greet everyone. So let's do it. Art Elkas, he's recommending some books that I recommended. Yeah, they're really good. We can look into that. The Price of Time and Benjamin Roth's Diaries from the Great Depression. I think they're really important. And there's another book that I will recommend uh, that I think is related to what's happening now. Nice to see Hayo Silver, Pablo Pina, Dutch Libertarian, Justin Taylor, Darren Smith is here. We've got Jake's Custom Parts, Quadman 72. There's Rudy. Uh, Rudy's doing well. Blue Water Stacks. Nice to see you here, Blue Water. Kiki Chu in Oregon, from Oregon. Justin Taylor, David Jackson from Heidelberg in Germany. Yeah, I've never been to Heidelberg, but yeah, I heard it's a beautiful city. I've been to Frankfurt and yeah, Frankfurt and where else? Um, Wiesbaden and also Baden-Baden and also Munich, but not anywhere else. Mark Sneed, Dilwyn Roberts from North Wales. He's a regular attendee of the live stream. Charles Fallon, Joshua Porter, reading Madness of Crowds now. Yeah, I think that's relevant today, the madness of crowds. Um, One thing I will say today, I'm going to be on my own. Clive is Clive is away for Christmas. Yeah, and we'll look at the budget deficit and how important it is for the bond markets and how I think bond markets are, yeah, they're pointing to more trouble ahead when you look at the technical picture of the bond yields, and that will affect everything. Very few people look at the bond markets. They think, the stock market is doing well, so not a problem. But I think, yeah, we need to keep a very close eye on it. Yak Meniku from Sofia, Bulgaria. Nice to see you. Stacy Roderick says hello, everyone. Silver Surfer is here. Rate cuts on Wednesday. Yeah, they can. The Fed will cut on Wednesday, it looks like. But don't forget, those are the very short-term rates, and I think they're gonna have to stop. Even though I think a lot of the Wall Street analysts see four rate cuts next year. I'm not too sure. Just like they started, yeah, I'm not too sure they're going to cut as much. And I think it's because the bond market is in control and bond yields are going to go higher, especially in the longer end. And if that happens, it's going to be very hard for the Fed to cut, but they could try to cut, but that's going to make things even worse. Fade out from the south coast of Australia. Too far gone. Says USA has gone mad. I think the whole West has gone kind of mad. Brady says it's warm today. Well, today wasn't too bad. I played golf this morning. It wasn't bad at all. It's a bit windy, but fairly relatively mild. Nick the Greek, do you think next year will be the year for silver? I mean, silver's done well this year already. It's up 20, 30% or around 30%, I think. Yes, I guess compared to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, it's not done as well, but it could be. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. The only thing I know, Nick, is that they're going to keep devaluing the currencies. They're going to keep inflating the currencies away, and that should help gold and silver. And there's a lot of demand for silver, especially from India and China. That's going to continue. Even Russia, they're buying silver now as a reserve. The finance ministry, and yeah, there's a shortage, a deficit in silver. For now, the bullion banks have been able to cover that with paper, but eventually, yeah, that game will end, in my opinion. Andy Lee from Italy says hello. Jake's custom part, 80 degrees Fahrenheit here in Texas. Yeah, that's warm. 32 degrees Fahrenheit near Gettysburg. Um, Dear Roberts, the wife says it's because I haven't got a life, Mario. All right. Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. James Williams, good evening, Mario. Hope you have had a lovely weekend. Look forward to tonight's content. Can you give us one book recommendation for a key read over the festive period, please? Yeah, I mean, aside from the books that were mentioned by Elkis, this is the one that I wanted to recommend. Aside from those two, is The Fourth Turning is Here by Neil Howe. I think it's really important. This guy, along with someone else, wrote a book in the late 90s, and they were warning back then about the fourth turning, and it's all to do with cycles, secular cycles, societal cycles, and it's going to give you an idea what's going to be happening the next 5 to 7 years, I think. And it's not, yeah, it's going to be tumultuous, and we're already seeing that it is, but on the other side of the fourth turning or the end of winter that we're going through, winter in terms of the cycles, it's going to be, yeah, things are going to get better. We're going to go into the spring. But before we get through these next 5, 7 years, it's going to be, things are going to happen that most people living today haven't experienced it. So yeah, I highly recommend that. The Fourth Turning by Neil Howe. Let's see. Our Elka says looking great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we I played golf and then my wife came over and we had a like a Christmas lunch they had at the golf club, which was very nice. Rudy stayed with a friend, and his daughter. He really enjoyed that, I think. Uh, you know nothing. I know nothing. Can I recommend The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleiman? It's about AI coming sooner than we think and the changes it will bring. Okay. Um, and Durarama, would the Fed would the Fed not QE if the bond yields get too high? Well, they could, or they could do yield curve control, but that would really, yeah, no, they could do that. But what that all that would mean is that the dollar would drop even more. And by dropping, I don't mean against other fiat currencies, but against hard assets, especially gold and silver. That's why, uh, yes, it's been a little frustrating since the post-election trading gold and silver, but I think we're just beginning. Well, silver is not even started. And gold, if you look at the long-term charts, like for example, going back to the early 70s, if you look at a logarithmic chart, we're just starting. I'll bring that chart up later on. And I've been warning about sinking fiat currencies, not just since I started my channel in November 2015, but also back when I was still working in the City of London in the financial sector. I was warning about it back in 06, '07. And and there's still people and the only way to protect against it, that of course is with gold and silver. Well, the monetary liquid way, and there's still a lot some people out there who think I'm shilling or trying to sell gold and silver, but no, I'm just trying to warn people. If they want to buy it, it's their business, and if they ask me where they want to buy it, I will tell them anyway. Uh, charge Charger Mopar says QE will be unlimited from the Fed. Well, that would be very interesting. Unlimited QE. If they said that, yeah, look out. Look out below dollar. Too far gone. It looks like these drone swarms are coming and going from underwater in the ocean. Interesting. I hadn't really looked too much into this drone thing, but uh, I was reading earlier today in the FT so about these drones. So if the FT is bringing it up, you can bet that the powers that be are trying to build some kind of narrative, some kind of psyop. But here it says that, uh, like New Jersey, for example, where this is happening a lot, uh, in other states, they can't do anything about it. Legally, it's only the federal government that can shoot them down. But the federal authorities apparently are not worried about it. So here you go. Concerns grow over mysterious drone sightings along U.S. East Coast. So yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. I mean, what happens in relation to that. So let's talk a little bit about the soaring budget deficit and de-dollarization. I mean, we'll start with de-dollarization. I mean, that's nothing new. But because we're seeing that Russia, China, and other non-Western countries are buying a lot of gold, having gold reserves instead of dollar reserves. And the more they do that, the less treasuries they need to buy. And I don't think it's going to change, even with a new administration. But the thing that surprised me, and I probably spoke about this with Clive on Friday, but I wanted to talk about it again, is this here. And Zero Hedge came out with a story back on Thursday evening. Government spending shock. U.S. budget deficit soars in worst start to year on record. So yeah, the fiscal year, of course, starts in October. So October, November, as you can see here, over 600 billion deficit. And a lot of you know, and I've spoken about this many times before, the equation for GDP, and I'll actually bring it up here. GDP equation is GDP is consumer spending plus business investment plus government spending plus export minus imports. So government spending is already huge everywhere around the West. But if you spend more than you take in, which is the deficit, that will help GDP. So it kind of it's an artificial sugar boost, or if you want to call it, to GDP. And if you switch over to this article here that also came out on Zero Hedge on Friday. Albert Edwards, this is the most insane chart of the year. So he's got here U.S. budget balance. And the U.S. budget deficit, yes, this was during COVID here. And then it shrunk the deficit. But since 2022, it's gone, it's increased and it's like over 7%, which is crazy. Uh, Usually you do that during a recession. If you look at the last time they did a lot of deficit spending, it was during the great financial crisis. And then when the economy recovers, you go back to a bit more normal, even though it should really be balanced or even a bit of a surplus. But look at this. This is just, and he argues, Albert Edwards, that this is the reason why the US economy is looking so much better than all the other economies. And I agree with him, and it's all to do with the deficit. This is another crazy chart here. This is US versus Europe equities relative uh, in US dollars. I mean, look at the standard deviation. This is pretty crazy. It has, I mean, uh, I don't know what's going to happen. Could, this is Biden deficit spending, which has gone crazy. Um, the big question is whether the next administration is going to try to rein in that deficit spending, and that could actually be very negative for the markets and for the economy. So yeah, that's the total debt. It's gone quite parabolic. What I'm going to do is, because I don't pay for Bloomberg for zero hedge premium, but I was able to get it through this archive.ph. You guys should check it out. I can't put this link on YouTube, but yes, Edwards, this is the most insane chart of the year, and I agree with him. And it's not just the US, I'm not trying to uh, bash the US, but I think the US is the biggest culprit, but France as well. They were downgraded after the market closed on Friday. Moody's hence French surprise downgrade over deteriorating finances. They've got their budget deficit is around 6%. And of course, the government there fell. They've Macron has appointed another prime minister. We'll see whether he can. I don't think they can fix it really. So I'll take some questions now, and then we'll look at a few other things later. Oh, Full of Hope is here. Hi, Full of Hope. Nice to see you. Silver Surfer says, if you think the government can build drones that travel underwater, then pop up into the sky to hover over Langley for 17 days without refueling, then zip off at hypersonic speed, then wow, just wow. I wouldn't be surprised if the government has technology that we don't know about. Um, William Cooper spoke about that many years ago, but I'm not too concerned about these drones. I'm sure they have a narrative and something might happen. They could use that. Monetize that is inflation. Well, of course it is. The Fed technically doesn't buy bonds straight from the Treasury because the Treasury issues bonds through auctions, and then the primary dealers, people like Mr. Lutnick and Cantor Fitzgerald and JP Morgan, they get their clients to buy those bonds, but then they sell it on to the Fed when there's QE. Now they're trying to sell it on for people who want to buy Bitcoin and other cryptos. Buy bonds. Buy bonds so you can support the U.S. Treasury while you're buying Bitcoin that is supposed to free from this debt-based system, which makes no sense. But the day the Fed decides to buy directly from the Treasury, that will probably be the day that the dollar really disappears. Because even though they're basically doing that, but yeah, keep an eye. I mean, anything's possible. Yeah, I have that book, Croy Kai. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your handle. Behold the Pale Horse by Bill Cooper. Steve Godwin, it's going to be a depression in the UK. I think we are already in a recession in the UK. Yeah, and the whole of Europe for that matter. And I think it's coming soon to the US as well. Just for Rita, thank you for your super chat. Could the US really convince the rest of the world to buy Bitcoin and di ditch gold, especially Western countries? I don't think they'll fall for that. I just wanted to show you guys something I found the other day. I was going through Instagram and something quite funny popped up from Donald Trump Jr., right? On Instagram. I don't follow him, but after that, I started following him. Not that I'm a fan or I'm neutral about these people, but I wanted to show you something here. So there you go, Donald Trump Jr. on Instagram. He's got 7.7 million followers. Look what he's got here, birchgold.com / Donald Trump Jr. So yeah, he's well, he believes in gold, not Bitcoin or cryptos. So all I can say is be careful with this crypto craze, Bitcoin craze. Yeah, pretty interesting. I don't know what you think about that, but I thought that's quite revealing that he's pushing gold and not Bitcoin. Well, Spark 2024, Ron Paul sells gold now too. Well, Ron Paul has always been pro gold. I met Ron Paul back in 2002 at the Mises Institute. I was already into gold. He was into gold. He's been buying gold since the 70s. So I think he's done well protecting his savings. 50-point US rate cut this week would move the economy. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do a 50 basis points cut. That would just push the bond markets even lower. And by bond, it sounds counterintuitive, but cutting the short-term rate like that, if they do 50, the long-term rates, like from the 5 year to the 30 year, those rates are going to go up. The curve's going to steepen and it won't be good. And with that, I'm going to bring you a chart of why I think the bond markets are signaling trouble. Um, so here we go. This is the 30-year Treasury bond. Um, they call it the bond, the long bond. And the 10-year is a 10-year note. But anyway, I took the yield going back to the late 80s. And this chart, for some reason, didn't go back to the early 80s, but it started in 81. We topped, bond yields topped in 81. And and they were on a downward path for like 40 years. And I mean, this was like 2020. This was a huge crisis, of course. Bond yields, the 30-year bond almost went below 1%, and then it spiked. And now, ever since we went above this line, it's kept going up. Of course, it goes up and down, and I think this is finished. This period here of decreasing bond yields is finished. And what does that mean? Well, this is what helped the everything bubble because financing costs kept going down, lower highs and lower lows. So you can roll over the debt, let's say every 5 years, and it becomes cheaper. It helps asset prices because lower interest rates or yields increases the valuation for stocks and bonds, for mortgages, for houses. You can borrow more, so people lend more money. But now it's, in my opinion, it's finished. I don't think for the next 40 years we'll see yields go down as far as we were 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, they could come in, the Fed, like one of you said, and do unlimited QE. Yeah, and that would bring yields down, but that would destroy the dollar. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. So if you notice here, this is called a kind of like a flag. It's a consolidation on a trend. The trend here is for higher yields, and it looks like we're about to break higher. Looking at the technical picture here, I think this little dip here, that was when the Fed cut rates in September. They surprised the market, not by cutting because people expected a cut, but the 50 basis points uh, like shocked people. And as you can see, yields have been going up ever since. This, of course, is a monthly chart. So that's why I said in my title that we could see shocking levels. But if you go back to the late 80s, the 10-year bond yield was around 10%. So why couldn't we see that again? I don't see a problem with it. And if you look at the French bond yields as well, they're doing the same thing. They're a lot lower, but you know they could go back up to, and I remember I started working in the markets around late 80s, around here. French bond, the 10-year bond yield in France was 10%. So this is like going back up to 8 or 10 is nothing extraordinary. It's extraordinary for people who haven't been around as long as I have, who don't look at the history and who think that 40-year trend is going to continue. So take some more questions now, and then we'll look at a couple of books that Elka's mentioned. Yeah, Dr. McWolf, I just mentioned that some minutes ago. France has been downgraded by Moody's. Yeah, and I think Macron just has got his fourth or fifth prime minister since he's been elected or something. So they are having problems with their finances, and so is the UK, and I think the US is gonna that's gonna be a problem too. And Durham, how much was Bitcoin back then? Back in the early 90s? Yeah, it wasn't around. Jake's Custom Parts. Your thoughts on Syria? Well, it's another, Western disruption of that area of the world. We were warned by General Wesley Clark back in '05 or '07. He came out publicly and saying that the neocons had 7 countries on their hit list, and Syria was one of them. I think the only one left now is Iran. And we know who's behind that, aside from the neocons. It's a country in the Middle East that was created back in 1948, and I'm going to stop at that. So that's what I think of Syria. And the UK has been heavily involved as well. It's a shame because the people, it's the average person in that region, they're the ones who suffer. And yeah, born for free, tax to death. Yeah, that's not good, is it? I think someone quoted Benjamin Franklin, who said that death and taxes are the only certain thing, and he said that in 1789. So he says, Mary, do you think a direction to lower interest rates will fuel more inflation when the economy is struggling around the world? Of course it will. That's the other thing that people get it wrong. They think just because the economies are doing well that you're not going to have currency debasement. We had that in the 70s. It was called stagflation, and it's going to be the same again. All the basic necessities of life uh, are are becoming more and more unaffordable, not just because of the currency debasement, but also because of this crazy move to this crazy climate change narrative. It's putting a lot of costs on energy. Look at the UK. I think our costs for industrial electricity is the highest in the world. Why is that? Well, because yeah, they're subsidizing this alternative renewable energy by putting taxes on industry and us, the consumer, as well. So yeah, I think it will continue. Blue Water Stacks, thank you for your super chat. Is the euro toast? I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter because don't forget the euro is just a collection of old currencies that they amalgamated in 1999, and then in 2002 uh, they got rid of all the banknotes and coins, the old currency. So if the euro breaks down, it's no big deal in my opinion. We'll just get the old legacy currencies like the Deutschmark, the Italian lira. Um, it will be something to marvel at. But I just wanted to show you guys an article because I saw this a couple of a couple of weeks ago or maybe more, and I haven't seen many people speak about it, and I haven't spoken about it before. But it's this here. So it's from December 5th. So yeah, it's about 10 days ago. Europe races to set up 500 billion euro defense fund. Initiative is open to UK and would tap bond markets to boost spending for Trump's White House return. So this is for defense spending. So yeah, I think this could be, they could disrupt the European government bond market, like the French government bond market, and we could see some huge crisis, existential crisis, and then they come in and create, let's say, uh, a Eurozone or European Union treasury that starts borrowing like crazy. Even though here they say they're not going to create a European or Eurozone, European Union treasury. They say each individual country will contribute. But I could see this being something to keep the euro going, even though they're not saying they want to create like a European treasury, because as all of you know, there is no European treasury like there is a US treasury for the US dollar. There are like, I don't know how many countries in the euro, 20 odd countries, there's 20 odd treasuries. So this would be bringing down the bond market, like starting with France, for example. Yeah, it would be a crisis that could lead to a solution of bringing. So I'm not even sure that the euro will collapse. Of course, it's just a rubbish fiat currency like all others that we have now. So that's the way I see the euro. But I try not to hold any fiat currencies, be it the euro, the dollar, the pound, the yen, or anything. I try to stick with gold and silver. Jeff McCarthy, thank you for your super chat. Do you think America pushes Bitcoin because they have no gold? Um, no, I heard someone saying, I I forgot who it was. I like to give him or her credit, but they said that Bitcoin is being pushed so that the US Treasury can collect capital gains tax because they need the taxes because we've seen how the deficit is going crazy. I think that's what it's all about. It's trying to suck, unfortunately, the public into this highly speculative uh, market. And I'm not even bashing Bitcoin. I mean, in the past, I've told my viewers, yeah, buy a little bit of Bitcoin, don't risk it all. But and Bitcoin could go a lot higher, but it could also drop a lot lower from where it is now. I don't even know where it is around 100,000. It could drop to like 40,000. Uh, so yeah, I think it's like even Howard Lutnick, who's now in the Trump administration, he was speaking in July, I think in Nashville, and he was saying how people buying Tether are helping the US Treasury because Tether is supposed to be a stable coin. It's supposed to be as good as the dollar, but then if you put $100 into Tether, you're actually getting you're not really getting $100. You're getting $100 of Treasury bills and some other credit instruments. So as for the gold, I mean, I think a lot of the gold that is supposed to be at Fort Knox and West Point has been leased out many times over by the bullion banks. And yeah, they'll get the gold back. But to get the gold back, they'll have to close those leases, which means buying back. So it will be at a lot higher price. Bananas Central, Tether's Q3 22 attestation reveals, among other assets, 102 to 125 billion treasury holdings. Yeah, I mean, attestation is not even an audit. They have never done an independent audit, and they're based offshore. They're not even based in the United States. So I mean I've used Tether before because I still have some altcoins, even though not that many anymore. So whenever I want to get back into fiat, I put it into Tether or and then put it into pounds. But yeah, I wouldn't hold that much of that stuff. Tether could break the buck. Tether is basically like a money market fund, and the money market fund is not really cash, is it? Because we saw in 2008 and 9 during the great financial crisis that even money market funds they broke the buck. So that's the way you have to think about Tether, in my opinion. CF Johnson, are you trust but verify? But they haven't verified it for since the 50s, so can you really trust it? I don't know. Not sure. And I think China, for example, has a lot more gold, even though officially they only have about 2,500 tons. They've been keeping the gold that is mined in China for 20 years. And a lot of people like Alistair McLeod and others they've done a lot of research and they think they've got more like 30,000 metric tons. Al Abelman, what happened to Syria's gold? Same fate as Libya's, Ukraine. Yeah, I don't know where Libya's gold is. Maybe what's his name? Assad took some to Moscow, or maybe the American. Well, the Americans have been taking Syrian oil as well from I think the north of Syria. Yeah, all these wars are about natural resources. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's not about democracy or freedom. It's about control uh, of these countries that are rich and also strategically as well for things like pipelines. Yeah, Dr. McWolf. Yeah, right now there's not really enough tether going through to make a difference for the treasury issue. Like you say, they have to push Bitcoin a lot higher, like 500,000. I don't think yeah, Jeff, Tether doesn't pay coupon. It's like cash. So if you buy Tether, you don't get a coupon. Pablo Pina saying that Gaddafi hid the gold. Maybe he did. Greg McNeil from Ontario. Hi, Greg. Buffett, Trump also running out of time, says Elkes. Yeah, well, Buffett has 325 billion in cash. He sees something coming. Um, born to be born for free, taxed to death. Do you think the only way to only way push lower gold price is to flood supply with physical gold supply? No, the way they push it down is through the paper market and through futures and the LBMA. They come in and they trigger. Yeah, it's just a speculative game. And that's what they wanted back in the mid 70s when they made gold legal again in the US. They created the GC, which is uh, the mnemonic for the gold futures on COMEX. And the reason they did it is to make gold a speculative uh, instrument, like a commodity, because they didn't want people buying physical. So, but I think the end game is coming soon for COMEX and the LBMA, New York, London axis, because less and less countries are storing their gold with the New York Fed or the Bank of England. I think it's only 22% of all sovereign gold reserves now are stored there, down from like 50% 50 years ago. Elka says great flowers. Rudy too. Uh, 16 more days to go for 2025. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those flowers are they're like we've had that for years. My wife she yeah, we had that like when I met my wife, she had that in her flat or apartment. We've had it for many, many years. I think it's made out of silk. Um, I think this Bitcoin reserve deal is to because Trump is hiring a lot of Bitcoin proponents, and they what they want these whales is the for the US government to buy it. So you, the taxpayer, will finance it. And then these whales can get out. Because if the US government is supporting Bitcoin, the price is not going to crash like it would right now if they wanted to get out. So all this is going to do is basically be a huge transfer of wealth, again, from the general public to the Bitcoin whales. Yeah, it will be financed by the taxpayer. And after they get out, Bitcoin will just crash. And that's why it's really dangerous. I know it's tempting because the price keeps going up, but even if Bitcoin goes to 200,000, that's only a doubling now. Gold, for example, has a lot more potential in my opinion, and it's a lot safer. And what Michael Saylor said, I think, is just silly. Um, selling uh, selling all the US gold to buy Bitcoin. Elkas, yeah, this is a London Golf Club windbreaker, yeah. Uh, Adoremus, I do buy my wife fresh flowers once in a while, I do. But those are different. They're like decorative. Dylan Roberts says Trump talking up Bitcoin for CBDC. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I haven't really heard Trump. Yeah, uh, I wouldn't. I would stick to gold and silver. I mean, I saw Trump has a website, real Trump coins, I think .com. He's not selling Bitcoin. He's selling. I think where is it? Real Trump coins. So here we go. This is what Trump really likes. This Bitcoin thing is just a distraction. You see, Trump, real Trump coins. It's not Bitcoin, it's gold and silver. There you go. Um, am I pro-Trump or pro anyone? No, I'm apolitical, but yeah, there you go. There you go. Maybe it could be interesting getting one of these. They're a lot. I mean, $100 for a 1 ounce coin or medallion. You can't really call it a coin. It's a medallion, but I don't see him selling any Bitcoin minted in America, fine gold and silver. So there you go. I mean, there you go. And I showed earlier as well, didn't I? And I'll show it again. What's Donald Trump Jr. Pushing or selling in his Instagram account? For those of you who haven't seen, because I saw that the other day. Something from Donald Trump Jr. showed up, and it was quite funny. And I started following him, not because I like him or anything, but look at what he's advertising here, birchgold.com. I don't see him advertising any cryptocurrency exchanges. So be careful, people. Um, oh, I didn't sh share it. Hold on. Hold on. Share it. Oh, here, I forgot. Let me share it again for those of you who haven't seen it. Oh, there we go. Donald Trump Jr. Uh, there you go. He's advertising Birch Gold. He's even got his link. I don't see, like I said, I don't see any crypto or Bitcoin stuff. So be really careful. Be really careful. Have I got anything else here? Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to show you guys is how important the bond market is for the whole financial system. And I've touched upon the John Exter's inverted pyramid. I mean, I've been looking at this for over 20 years. John Exter, he worked. I mean, he was a central banker, and he worked for the New York Fed. He helped found the Central Bank of Ceylon, which is now Sri Lanka. He helped found the Central Bank of the Philippines. And yes, you can add silver to the base here of the whole liquidity. I mean, this is liquidity, and it comes from gold. So that's the cash paper money. So government bonds and treasury bills, that's the bond market. It's the most important, biggest market in the world, even though everyone follows the stock market. And if this goes, everything above it goes. And derivatives is another thing that is really important when it comes to interest rates because about two-thirds of all the derivatives, and we don't really know how much there is in derivatives. Probably some people speculate there might be even 2 quadrillion, which is 2,000 trillion derivatives. And I worked in the derivatives market for 20 years, and it's highly leveraged. What does that mean? Well, it's people, hedge funds, institutions, even retail now making leverage bets on anything, leverage bets. And the lower interest rates are, the easier it is to leverage and to create derivatives contract. So if bond yields start rising sharply, this could just create havoc in all these, uh, the top of the pyramid here, the inverted pyramid. And yes, all the liquidity would flow down to gold and silver. Where would Bitcoin be here? Well, I think Bitcoin is here in this part. Corporate and muni bonds, securitized debt, and listed stocks. I think Bitcoin is and cryptos are like uh, tech stocks in terms of volatility. So it's not down here. I don't believe it's down here. Some people might argue it is, but I don't think it is. So there you go. And you can disagree with me, and I don't mind. Uh, what else? Going through that. I have some questions here. Where would Bitcoin be on that pyramid? Well, I just said that, where the stock listed stocks are. Um, yeah. Keep it live, keep it real 24/7, and keep the wife well secured from the internet. Powell said Bitcoin competes with gold, not the dollar. Yeah, he's not being really honest there. He's trying to denigrate gold because he knows gold is, well, it's a kryptonite for Mr. Powell. Gold and silver both are kryptonite for central bankers. Mir thinks that more countries should adopt Bitcoin as their currency. Um, well, more more and more countries are buying loads of gold. I don't see them except for El Salvador buying a little bit of Bitcoin. I don't see any other countries, and I'm not even sure the US is going to be buying. Well, the US already has Bitcoin uh, from via the law enforcement. They've kind of they confiscated Bitcoin. Deplorable Kulak says, I love leveraging my bets. Leveraging is, yeah. I mean, there are ways to leverage things, and you know, I did a video yesterday, a paid promotion, and a lot of people, well, some people have a go at me for doing those, but I explained to them that it's risky and it's not leverage because you buy the stock, and unless you borrow to buy it, it's not leverage. But leverage in the sense of buying a junior minor is that it could go up many times, and it's leverage compared to the physical gold and silver. And what you need to do if you want to do those, in my opinion, is make sure that you put money down that you can afford to risk and to lose. But yeah, the thing about leverage as well is that you could lose more than you put in if the market really goes crazy, if it crashes. So be very careful because you could end up bankrupt by leveraging too much. And that's what Wall Street did back in, that was the reason why we had the '08 crisis because all these leverage bets on derivatives. And we, the taxpayer, had to bail not just Wall Street, but the City of London. And it's one of the reasons why we are in the hole that we are right now, all the economies. Mark with a K, can you do an episode on how a Dutch galley slave Piet Hein drove the Spanish Empire into bankruptcy in 1620 by capturing the Spanish silver fleet? I hadn't heard about that story. I'll have to look into it. Robin Hunter, I'm up on my savings because of you. Thank you, he says. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that's another thing people don't do anymore. You never hear people talk about saving, like real saving, like saving money. And the reason for that is that fiat currency is really not a good savings instrument, and the system is so leveraged that the powers that be, governments and central banks, they don't want people saving, and that's what gold and silver is, saving, and that's why they hate gold and silver. So they want people to speculate because speculating and buying stocks is the only thing that sometimes keeps up with the inflation. Does that mean I'm not going to buy stocks? Well, as I've said, I have some precious metals miners. That's all I have, but it's fairly, it's not a huge amount. Percentage-wise, is not that much. But I think it's where value is right now because with what gold is doing, they should be a lot higher, and I think eventually they will catch up and outperform, of course. Bro Joe, thank you for your super chat. Gold revaluation equals epic. Thanks, Mario. Happy holidays. Holidays. Uh, well, we've been having gold revaluation since 1971. Not officially by the US government, but the market. We've gone from $35 to 2,600 where we are right now or so. That's gold revaluation, but there could be a day or a weekend where they announce something when the markets are shut that let's say the US, the Eurozone and China are going to revalue the gold price. It's possible. And if you don't have it when they announce that, you'll miss out. Just like unfortunately a lot of people missed out uh, on January 30th, 1934, when the FDR revalued gold from $20.67 to 35. Unfortunately, most people handed it in the previous year. Blue Water Stacks thinks West Red Lake Gold is a home run. Um, I think it's an interesting prospect. That's why I did the video yesterday. The guy who's, you know, Frank Juicer's he's got almost just under 10% of the company, and he's been known to build some pretty big gold companies. So we'll have to wait and see. Nothing is ever certain, but it's certainly an interesting project. Kaki Hemi says gold isn't currency. Currency is a money substitute. Gold is money. Well, you can use gold as a currency as well. Gold coins, you know. They, yeah, yeah. I think yeah, you do have paper currency, but gold and silver are currency as well. The physical part. I don't see. Yeah, and the fiat dollar that we use or the pound, they're fiat currency. But the great thing about gold and silver is that they're aside from being real money, they're also currency. Of course, you don't have, the point of having the gold certificates or the silver certificates was to make it more convenient. But so yeah, they were just certificates. But I agree with you. Very few people know the difference. Even the word cash, cash is usually, money, gold and silver. The paper we have is not even cash because technically, the dollar bill or the Bank of England note is a debt instrument. So yeah, we can pay other people with that, but it actually doesn't extinguish that within the system. And that's where the system is so flawed. And that's why the debt keeps going up and up. But one day it's all going to implode. Banana Central, Bitcoin paired to various securities and commodities on certain exchanges such as XAU and NDQ is increasing clearing speed. Some ETFs are not released. Okay. Sandy Anderson, have you thought about inviting David Rogers Webb? Uh, I have. I mean, I read his book over a year ago, back in September 2023. Uh, I sent him an email. He never replied, but I see that he's going on other channels. But one of the videos I did about his book, and I've read his book, got over 80,000 views. But you know, I've spoken about it already. It's nothing new. This that they're gonna the Great Taking. Um, the only way you can avoid the Great Taking if it happens, because he says it's not for certain, is to have your wealth outside the system. They can't take it. And that means even your house. If your house is encumbered by a mortgage, if anything you have has debt on it, they'll come after that too. That's why it's so important to try to pay off your debt. Greg McNeil, gold is money, currency is a medium of exchange. Yeah, but let me show you here. Uh, Greg, I'm going to show you something. Uh, here's it. So here you go. That's what year is it? 1911. $5. Indian head, gold. It's money, but it's also currency. I can go and pay someone with that and pass it around, exchange it. It's a currency as well. It's money and it can be currency as well. So there you go. But if I had a 400-ounce gold bar, that would be, you wouldn't carry that around to try to pay people. But yeah, could Canadian government nationalize gold mines because they have no gold reserves? I don't think they're gonna do that. That would be really silly. I think yeah, they could, but you never know. Yeah, they could just tax them in gold, and say we want 10% of your gold in tax. Pay your taxes in gold. They could do that. Where does the debt pyramid end? Well, let's bring it back. The inverted pyramid, John Exter. It ends at the bottom. When it implodes, let me try to find it. When the system implodes, you see all the liquidity flows from the top to the bottom. Uh, you can add silver to this as well, and it flows to paper money as well. And it's what happened during the Great Depression. Even though the U.S. was in the gold standard, most of the people's money were kept in banks. And people who had paper money, yeah, even the paper money, people didn't have it because it was the paper money was this, you know, was leveraged because there wasn't as much gold as paper money. So that's why there wasn't enough paper money, but there wasn't enough gold either. And that's why you need to read this. I mean, if you had gold during the Great Depression in the early 30s, you were laughing. But if you had anything above, up here, you probably lost a lot of, you lost 80-90% of your wealth. So, yeah. So that's like when you get the crash, all the liquidity flows down uh, and into gold and silver, not into Bitcoin. That's my opinion. You might think it will. Good luck. Well, you could spend your 400-ounce bar. Um, yeah, if you leave it with a dealer, like say Gold Investments, you can store your gold with them, and you can call them and say, I want to sell, well, not the 400-ounce bar, but if you had 400 1-ounce gold coins, you can just call them and say, I want to sell 1 ounce, and they'll send you the fiat currency in your bank account. But 400-ounce bars are bars that are used as for central banks, sovereign central bank reserves. Alex, question about the ratio of gold and silver. Will silver bring the ratio down or gold? I think it will be silver because usually the ratio comes down in 1980 it was in the bull market when gold went to 850, silver was at 50. And the same thing happened in 2011. Gold went to 1900, silver went to 50. So yeah, the only way, the thing is, if gold came down, I think silver would go down even more. So the ratio would go even higher. It's only in a bull market that the ratio comes down. Um, Jake, I think silver would be above gold between paper money and gold because it's less bulky. Gold, yeah, i.e., you don't have to buy as much. But who knows? But they're definitely below the. I think you want to have both, of course, because paper money is you've got counterparty risk with paper money. With gold and silver, you don't. Charles Schulten thinks it should be at the base. Well, he didn't put silver, he put gold, but I think they're both in there. It doesn't really matter. if one's above or below. Maybe they're together, each half. Yeah, gold is money, everything else is credit. That was JP Morgan. And then Mark Twain said, no amount of evidence will convince an idiot. You said that. He said that, not me. Dylan Roberts says, thank you, take care. Oh, yeah, well, time flies when you're having fun. So, yeah, 10 o'clock here, 1 hour live stream. I'm going to thank all of you for showing up. Next Sunday, I'm not going to be around. I'll probably next time will be towards the end of the year because of Christmas. So we're going to be with the family. So, but the videos will be normal next week, and I'll let you know. Rudy, Rudy, say hello. Say goodbye to everyone. There you go. Woke him up. All right. Thank you, everyone, again, and have a great week. And also, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, even though we're going to still talk anyway. Um, Thanks again. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed my live stream and my videos, make sure you subscribe. We're almost up to 120,000. I think we only need 50 new subscribers. Take care. Bye.